Without further ado, it is my honor to introduce our first mayor of the evening, Mayor Sofia Aragon from the city of Burien.
Thank you very much, and it's very nice to be with all of you again. It's been a very long time. And so I'm going to give you a bit of an overview of Burien, and hello from our community. And one of the things we take pride in is that we really want to emphasize accessibility, walkability, the health of our communities. So I'm a registered nurse and an attorney by training. And so I can't help but think of things in a health framework. So you'll see me talk about that quite a bit and weave that in my presentation. And so when you ask me whether or not Burien is on the right track to make sure we have the healthiest communities, I believe we are. Because healthier communities are not only active consumers, but they create strong workforces. Okay, so one of the things that we're also very known for is a foodie paradise, and that I think owes a lot to the diversity of Burien, and that we are also working very hard to be inclusive, diverse, and also recently have been recognized to be a very creative community, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. Okay. So we want to make sure people know that you all belong here and that we have very pro-investment leadership. Some of the biggest assets that we have are the friendliest, and this is really important to people, permitting processes. And there's a lot of opportunity in Burien in terms of developing for what we need in the city and its growth moving forward. We grew about 20,000 residents in a 10-year period between 2010 and 2020. So some of the pro-investment programs that we have are a federally designated opportunity zone, multifamily tax exemption programs. I'll talk about the affordable housing demonstration program and efforts to attract business and investment programs called You Belong Here, targeting attraction of further retail and tech and office space sectors, which, as you know, is really important in a post-COVID world. So, and this is a picture of a 230-unit mixed-use multifamily development that is growing our Burien Town Square. And it also included a $250,000 donation to the Highline Public Schools construction apprenticeship program. And the project is scheduled for completion in 2023. So in terms of the demographics of Burien, it's pretty well spread in the spectrum of ages. I would look at it and say over half of our population are that family age, between the ages about 35 and 45. So we want to lead with equity as well as diversity when we talk about developing our programs. And so we as a city are actually looking at our own business practices to see how more we can support our evolving communities. We're one of the most diverse in the Sound, as well as our partner cities here at the table. For example, we're about a quarter Hispanic population. And what that also entails is making sure that we do more community outreach so that we understand more of what our communities need and what they can make them successful in Burien. And one of the things that we routinely do is make sure that we expand our language access and that we do invest in Black, Indigenous, and people of color businesses or BIPOC businesses, in community groups and youth programs like the Highline School that I mentioned. We've also been designated recently as a certified creative district by the Washington State Arts Commission, because we're recognized to have a creative city full of artists, craftspeople, and makers. And we have a wonderful new maker space also in our downtown core. So our community events, we celebrate community, arts, and culture while driving visitor spending each year to our local businesses and support for local arts. What I really like about living in Burien is that we do have this central space where everyone comes together and enjoys the diverse cultures that we have in the city. And our local chamber, Discover Burien, is home to a commissary kitchen and the only publicly accessible makerspace in the Highline area. And so many products made in these spaces are actually sold at the Burien Farmers Market. And if you haven't been there, it's on every Thursday. The other thing that makes people's quality of life successful is making sure that their community makes strategic investments to meet their needs and implement some innovative programs to enhance public safety, which I'm sure is a theme across our cities. Economic recovery from COVID. I'm hearing nobody likes to hear that word COVID. Aptly, someone called it the C word, and I agree. But that's something that we really need to keep in mind as we move forward, because I think there were a lot of lessons learned and there was a lot of innovation coming out of that 2-year period. Also strategically investing in human service programs, youth programs, and of course, infrastructure so that we can support the growth that we need in the city. So in terms of public safety, we make sure we have a collaborative approach, meaning you could see here that our police department and fire, as well as human services, work together. We want to make sure that our police force actually focuses on those incidents where they're needed the most. So we are developing a co-responders model so that we have more mental health services when that's more appropriate to respond. And with ARPA funds and other funds, the city also approved $2.6 million to Burien's collaborative approach to public safety. And what this also supports is a neighborhood care coordinator, a downtown storefront officer, and as I mentioned, a co-responder mental health professional who will accompany fire and police personnel on call. And these are all in addition to our existing LEAD program, which connects individuals engaged in low-level crime to case managers who can provide that crisis response. Okay. So you can see a list here of ARPA investments in small business recovery. The majority of businesses in Burien, 75%, have 5 or less employees. So most of our businesses are certainly small businesses. And we've oriented this available funding accordingly. In addition to what I mentioned as enhanced public safety, there will be $500,000 in small business grants, $500,000 in small business lending, $250,000 in workforce development. And many of these categories, what programs that we will fund is not yet set in stone. We just want to make sure that those specific areas are targeted. So if you are interested in joining with us and being part of that investment, please come and talk with us. And then $250,000 in childcare business development. We saw in COVID, one of the challenges that families had in switching to working at home is needing more support for childcare. So that's something we invested in. Okay. And what you see there on the right-hand side is a new initiative called Shop Local Burien, where we learned that the businesses who succeeded had online presence, as you all know. And those who did not didn't have as much of a chance of surviving. So what the city is doing is making sure that all of our businesses have ample online presence so that they have that resiliency in case we have another situation like COVID. Okay, and we do have an affordable housing demonstration program. So pre-COVID, the city of Burien committed to creating the 7,500 home units that we were committed to developing. And we still have an affordable housing demonstration program to make sure, that we have housing across the spectrum of incomes. Okay. So in 1 minute, what do I choose? Mosier Memorial Park improvements. One of the things we hear from our communities, again, a community of families, is to make sure that we have complexes that have a variety of space and is flexible for a variety of activities. We have a Miller Creek Enhancement Project. What this is a critical watershed in the salmon habitat. And what I heard, which is really exciting, is that there will be a distillery that will be built there soon so people can enjoy the beauty of Miller Creek as well as walk its trails. And we're also busily planning for the future, as like many cities are doing, is getting ready for their comprehensive plan major updates so that we are going to be hard at work envisioning what we want to see in our city for the next 20 years. And I hope all of you in this room participate in that project. And thank you so much for your time, and join Team Burien.
Thank you so much, Mayor Aragon.